Good day and welcome to Predators Proclivity, the podcast where we look at data from the season for the NHL Nashville Predators and make comments upon it. I'm your host, Preston Proctor. I guess I could have gotten rid of those notes. But anyway, so starting off with the postseason watch. Edmonton has clinched over the weekend. Edmonton clinched. The Islanders eliminated. Winnipeg clinched the division and the conference, and the Rangers and Detroit eliminated. So we heading quickly towards a resolution. Only a couple more days left in the season. Some teams with more games than others still, like Detroit still has 3 games to play. Detroit still has 3 games to play, and it's Monday. How are they going to do that? That's a great question and something I should have done before I got in here. They play Thursday. Okay, so they got Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Dallas, New Jersey, Toronto. Most teams, I think, are in the 2-game range. A few teams with one game left. In the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic, it looks like with 2 games left for all of Toronto, Tampa Bay, and Florida, there is a 4-point gap between first and second. So I think we can stick a fork in that unless Toronto decides just to lose their last bunch of games. And they've got a 4-point lead over Tampa Bay with 2 games left for both teams. All they need is 1 point, and they'll clinch the Atlantic. Florida at 98. Florida's won 3 in a row, just like Toronto. Florida 2 points behind Tampa Bay with 2 games left. So that's still up in the air. Take a quick look. I guess I could have done all this stuff beforehand, but hey, let's see. They play Florida tomorrow night. Yeah, so Tampa Bay and Florida play tomorrow night, so that could be the deciding game. Tampa Bay also plays Thursday against the Rangers. But yeah, if that game is determined in regulation, they go a long way towards determining how that particular ordering. Now, it's the ordering, not necessarily who's getting into the playoffs. Looks like, okay, so here's the caveat there. Florida has a back-to-back. They get to play the Rangers tonight and then Tampa Bay tomorrow. So that kind of gives Tampa Bay a little bit of an advantage because Florida needs to win tonight, needs to beat Tampa Bay, and they got to play their last 2 games in a back-to-back situation. So, it doesn't mean Tampa Bay's going to win it, but it gives a little bit of an edge to Tampa Bay. And at least they're playing each other. You gotta give the schedule makers, they got something. You can't foresee who's going to be good and who's going to be there at the end, but having. Pretty lucky having 2 teams playing each other that are fighting against each other for playoff positioning anyway. And I guess that's just a preview for what we're going to see because Tampa Bay, Florida will be playing each other with the higher seed having the home ice. In the Metropolitan, it's been settled for a while. I think even if I went back and looked at my spreadsheets, this is pretty much set since the middle of December. Washington has clinched the division and the conference. Carolina is second and New Jersey third. So Carolina and New Jersey will be playing each other in the playoffs, and Carolina will have home ice. The wild card team, Ottawa, is the only team that has secured a spot. They will be the number 1 wild card team, which means they will play whoever wins the Atlantic. So it looks like Ottawa versus Toronto. And then the second team most likely be Montreal. Montreal has managed to lose 2 in a row. Columbus has won 4 to stay in the chase. The only team left chasing Montreal. There's a 3-point difference with 2 games left. I do not believe that they play each other. So that is, there was one of the commentators, I think it was on NHL Tonight, was saying Columbus plays Philadelphia, and then the Islanders, was that all Montreal needed to do was to get 1 point, and they've been managing to put clinching this off and put clinching this off and put clinching this off. Most likely it will be Montreal playing the Capitals. So Canadians and Capitals. Anyway, so that's what is looking like in the East. In the West, we got a clinching of the division and the conference by Winnipeg. They are an 8-point gap over Dallas, who has lost 5 in a row. And I believe, San Jose has lost 9 in a row, but Dallas has lost 5 in a row going into the playoffs. That's not what you want to do. And Colorado's done. Colorado's already played 82 games. They're done. They're just sitting back waiting. Yeah, I think you could say something about the rust. A team sitting for a while, but Dallas has got 2 more games to play, and Colorado's done. So, and they're going to be playing each other. Dallas will have the home ice in that particular that series. But I say they play Detroit, and then Dallas finishes the season here in Nashville. I should have known that, but they're playing Detroit and then Nashville. So, I don't know that. I would, just based upon that, throw my kind of figure. You can see Colorado's won 1 in a row, so they maybe didn't finish the season quite so strong. But that kind of looks more like Dallas might have an early exit. Let's see, they lost to Utah, the team we're playing tonight. So Utah beat Dallas on Saturday. Dallas also lost to Winnipeg, another playoff team, lost to Vancouver, not a playoff team, lost to them in overtime, lost to Minnesota in overtime, a playoff team, and lost to Pittsburgh. All of those 5 losses coming after the win in Nashville. So they did have a 7-game winning streak, and now they've got a 5-game losing streak. I guess being streaky can be an advantage going into the playoffs, but this is not the kind of streak they want to enter in. So I think maybe I'd be given a little bit of an advantage to Colorado because of that, unless there's some extraneous reasons as to why Dallas is playing so poorly here at the end of the season. Colorado not lighting it up. They did beat Anaheim. They had a back-to-back over the weekend, losing to LA and then beating Anaheim. Before that, they lost to Vancouver, beat Vegas, lost to St. Louis. So they are kind of wishy-washy going into the playoffs too. So maybe it's a little bit more of a toss-up. I think and in that case, you'd have to say that potentially the having the time off, they're going to have. So they were done on Sunday. Dallas gets done on Wednesday. So that's 3 days of extra rest that Colorado will have. And I don't know. That one's not looking. I have to go back and take a look at the records. I'll do a playoff preview show. Before everything gets started. I'm not exactly sure yet how much I'm going to do during the playoffs. Since Nashville is not engaged, it's not quite as interesting from a Predators proclivity standpoint. However, from an overall hockey, maybe a little bit more interesting. We'll see. Maybe highlight ex-Pred players like that plays for Dallas, who looks like they're going to have early exit. But anyway, so Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado, that order is set. And then in the Pacific, Vegas, the Kings, and the Oilers. I thought I had seen that Vegas had clinched, but I guess not. There's still 6 points, and the Kings have 3 games to go. The Kings have 3 games to go, so even if they were tied, Vegas would get the tiebreaker because they've got 4 more regulation wins, which is the first tiebreaker. And if that didn't change and the Kings won their last 3, they would be tied in points and then have 44 regulation wins. So Vegas has, I can call it, Vegas and has clinched the Pacific. That is kind of weird that, well, I guess since it's not, I don't know, maybe it was the NHL calling it, as I'm looking at ESPN and, yeah. So the NHL has got the Vegas down as having clinched the Pacific. I guess that's the problem with relying more on the ESPN site. There's a lot of things about it that make it easier to read. It's more concise. It's got a lot more data. The NHL site is a little lacking in a number of ways, but here at least they know what their order of priorities and whatnot are, and therefore they can reliably say that Vegas has clinched the Pacific. The Kings are 2 points ahead of Edmonton. Edmonton has 2 left. The Kings have 3. So that is still a little bit of a toss-up. The Kings do have 3 games to play here at the end of the season, so that's not the easiest thing in the world. It's funny, they've got 3 games left, and Colorado's done. So tonight, the Kings play Edmonton. The Kings have a back-to-back with Edmonton and Seattle, but they play Edmonton tonight. So that game, if it is, that's on NHL Network, if it ends in regulation, will add a lot more clarity to this race. Now, the Kings do have the first tiebreaker, the regulation wins. They are 6 more games than Edmonton, so they're not going to overtake that. So if the Kings win tonight in regulation, then the order there is set too, because Edmonton will only have 1 game left, and they can't overtake the Kings. I guess even if Edmonton wins in overtime, that would still give a point. That would mean it would be 102. It's 102 to 101. So if Edmonton wins, things stay in doubt. If the Kings win in regulation or overtime, then they will clinch the second position. So that's where that is. And then in the wild card position here in the Western Conference, nobody has clinched yet. We've got Minnesota, St. Louis, and Calgary. Minnesota and St. Louis have 1 game left. Calgary has 2. Minnesota has 95 points, St. Louis 94, and Calgary 92. So Calgary could overtake St. Louis easily. If they win their last 2 games, St. Louis can win their last game, and they'll be tied. And then, they'll tie on regulation wins, but the second tiebreak is regulation overtime, so St. Louis would win the tie there. For Calgary to overtake Minnesota, they are 3 points behind Minnesota with 2 games left. That one looks like a harder task. It looks like Minnesota could be very, very close to clinching a playoff spot. Which spot? It's hard to say. Calgary has no easy route. They're going Vegas and then LA. So their last 2 games are against playoff-bound teams. So that's not looking great for you Flames fans out there. St. Louis, on the other hand, plays Utah tomorrow, and then that finishes their schedule. So that's the other part. Yeah, so Utah is in a back-to-back with Nashville and then St. Louis. So that kind of helps St. Louis out a wee bit there. Again, it'd be nicer if these three teams were facing each other here, but you can't. You can't really plan that out. And earlier in the season, you would have said the Wild were going to be a divisional seed, not a wild card seed. So Minnesota finishes off their season in Anaheim. So Calgary's definitely got the toughest route, the most to overcome and the toughest route. So definitely playing. The other guys are not playing playoff position teams, and Calgary is. Can't rule anything out because Jiminy Cricket, people are, Winnipeg's lost 1 in a row. Dallas has lost 5 in a row. You would not expect to see this bad karma going into the playoffs, but that's where they're at, and that's what we've got. Transaction walks. Preds haven't made any transactions, no more signings or anything. So the unrestricted free agents are still pretty much the same. The restricted free agents also the same. Excuse me, getting a little sick. My wife got sick. Came down sick over the weekend. We have a podcast we do together. We did that last night. So if I wasn't getting sick before last night, being here in the studio with her for an hour, sure took care of that. So starting to get sick, but if so, apologize for any grating or anything you might be hearing. But I'm here. Okay, so for tonight's game, the Preds are playing the Utah Hockey Club. And there's so many reasons why. The Predators commentators the other night were talking about it. Then they were going. They said, what was it? Utah was playing somebody. They're just going to pick somebody out of the blue. The Stars. So they played the Stars, right? So the announcers are like, and the Stars are playing the Utes. When you use one of the nicknames, you tend to use the other ones, like the Flyers are playing the Red Wings, or something like that. If you say Dallas and Utah, that's fine, but you don't normally go like Utah is playing the Stars. You generally stick, but it's like you just cannot. The hockey club, no. They can't. I can't believe that they still have that as one of the options. And if they go that route, they go that route. Lots of football club, soccer club. That's how they like to do it. So pretty much it's Nashville, it's LA. That's what they are. They're not. Whatever else. And then soccer is one of those things, and I guess rugby kind of too. No clue. That's absolutely no clue which team is which. Thank goodness they put the colors up. Oh, I just found a problem here in the studio. Put the colors up when they're showing the scores. Otherwise, it wouldn't have a clue as to which team, because they fly. Everybody's Fly Emirates. They must sponsor 95% of the soccer teams in the world. So it's like Fly Emirates versus Fly Emirates. Anyway, this is not soccer talk. Let's move on. Yeah, so this is the last game of 3 versus the Utah Hockey Club. The second game in Nashville. So far, Nashville is 2-0. Winning 4-0 here in Nashville, winning in a 4-3 shootout. That 4 is the magic number, I suppose. A 4-3 shootout. Last year against Arizona, Nashville not so good, 1-3 against Arizona last year. And so, much better year this way. Glad they moved out of Arizona. And the team, not the franchise, won't go through all that again. Utah is 37-30-13. That's a winning record. On the road, they are 19-15-5. sixth in the Central Division with 87 points, and that is where they're going to finish as far as the division goes. Because above them, 7 points to St. Louis, so they're not going to go anywhere else. As far as positioning in the league, Utah is above Columbus. It's still in the mix, 1 point behind Vancouver and Montreal. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they're thinking. They've been playing the same goaltender for months. He's 23 games in a row. Ever since, what was the last time Ingram was in goal was back February 22nd. So over a month, and Vejmelka has been the goaltender. They've had different backups, but only one starter. So then for Utah, this is the second game of the 3-game road trip. They are 1-0, having beaten Dallas 5-3 Saturday. Playing Nashville tonight, and tomorrow night they'll finish their season playing St. Louis at St. Louis. Notable changes, the trade deadline, they did get a draft pick for 3 players, 5th round 2026. They had to trade with Chicago nothing really improving either team with respect to this year's playoff run. I don't know. They were never really in the hunt for a playoff spot, kind of dancing around. And if they'd made their team a little bit better, then maybe they could have made a playoff run. But maybe they are also thinking that next year is their year. Hard to say. They could have gotten a goaltender. Maybe that would have been a good idea. When did I guess the trade deadline was early March, and so Ingram last played in February, at the end of February. So they could have. There were a number of goaltenders that were up, and they could have brought in a goaltender. Even somebody just to finish out the year. Hopefully Connor Ingram resolves whatever issues he's got, and he can be back next year or during the off season. They can solidify, but they could have made a change right at the end. And there were, I think there's still a couple of goaltenders that were available and just didn't do it. Chicago had a goaltender they were trying to get rid of, and so they made a trade with Chicago. Maybe that's how they wound up there. They just couldn't come to terms on that trade, but they were in the middle of a whole bunch of other stuff, and so they made the trade. They sent forward Aku Ratti and then 2 defensemen, Victor Soderstrom and Shea Weber, to Chicago for 5th round 2026. Who knows? I mean, somebody knows that whether or not they were trying to make that trade. That would have been, I think, a good thing for Utah to do, especially given where they're at now. My goodness. Yeah. As far as their injury list, from a change from a couple days ago when we played them the last time, Alexander Kerfoot is back in the lineup. He did play versus Dallas, so that got him to 78 games. John Marino and Connor Ingram and Liam O'Brien are all out, not expected to be back for the game with the Preds. Number 6 defenseman John Marino, he's played in 35 games, hasn't played the full year. Connor Ingram, the starting goaltender at the beginning of the year, 9-8-4, hasn't played since the middle of February. I did, a note, he was one of the goaltending prospects for Nashville and was claimed off waivers by Arizona back in 2022. Liam O'Brien has only played in 27 games this year, so none of those, Connor Ingram, I think, is a big, big miss for them. And they do too, because they haven't played. Maybe come in relief. The other goaltenders may have come in relief, but not nobody starting. So But as far as the center and defensemen, they not players that played a whole lot. Kerfoot played a lot, so he probably missed from the lineup. Didn't really have that many stats to look at, but that's not necessarily just the main stats on ESPN is not necessarily the important or the impact that a player makes. For your Nashville Predators, the Preds are 29, 43, and 8. At home, 19, 17, and 3. 19, 17, and 3. So the Preds need to win one of these two games. The last two games are all here in Nashville. Wednesday, Dallas comes to town. And we need to win one of those, or one of those needs to go to an overtime loss so that we can have a winning record. If it's 19, 19, and 3, I mean, I guess it's better than a losing record, but let's just, I guess the easiest thing to do is to sweep Utah. Why not? And then we can have a winning record at home. So where was, Utah 19, 15, and 5, they're going to have a winning record on the road regardless. So just, it'd be nice to have a winning record at home. The Preds are 7th in the Central Division, kind of where they've been ever since they climbed out of 8th. And that's where they're going to be. Their draft location is in the same spot. Tried to do a little bit of research and figure out how the odds are calculated for the percentages of getting the first pick in the draft, and that seems to be some sort of magic that nobody wants to divulge. Surprising, but it can't be that big of a deal. I think it must have something to do with number of points that you have at the end of the season, because it seems to vary. I would have thought it would have been the same, but it must change because depending upon how much San Jose loses, their odds of getting the first pick seem to go up. If these sites that I've been looking at are correct, and I assume they know, and I don't know why this calculation seems to be so mysterious, but it could be one of the other things, like trying to find the trade tracker in the NHL. It's in their news section of their website, but heaven forbid you try to navigate to it through their site. I can't find it, not reliably anyway. They're coming up on the trade deadline. When they have articles about it, then they'll have the trade deadline. But I mean, it's a part of their site, but you just can't find it. So you have to do a Google search or Bing search or whatever search. You got to do an internet search to find it, for goodness sake. So the NHL site's not my favorite. It's not my most hated. That would be NASCAR, but and for other reasons too. But not my favorite site. Could be a lot more better organized. And but I have to say, I really like the stat part of it. Don't really get anything out of Edge. I know they've been pushing Edge. Not sure why, but when I use it, I don't get anything out of it. So maybe I just don't know what I'm doing, which, hey, I'm not saying that's not the case. So the Preds have a 2-game homestand to finish off the season with the Utah Hockey Club coming tonight. On a player update, Colton Sissons is out, and so is Roman Josi. They're still listed as coming back on the 16th, so whether or not they're back for the Dallas game. Oh, the 16th is not the Dallas game. That's oh, no, wait a minute. Yeah, that's Utah. That's Utah's schedule. I'm going to talk about the Preds. It's helpful if I have the Preds information up. Yeah, Dallas, the 16th. That's what I thought. So they're listed as possibly being back for the Dallas game. They might probably be back for the Dallas game, but maybe not dressed and skating. Okay, so let's head into statistics. Yay. And as always, so the Preds at home are 19, 17, and 3. When they get the first goal, they are 10-8-3. So that has transitioned to kind of a losing record if you look at it from a 10-11 standpoint. If they don't get it, they're 9-9. So actually 500. Yeah, I guess there's still more points in the 10-8-3 than 9-9. When the Preds get the first goal in the first period, well, that's 10-6-3, so that is a winning record. If they get it in the second period, it's 0-2. So that's no bueno there. You kind of have to wonder why, but the Preds are not a second period team, and just, boy, do you have to constantly be reminded about that whenever you watch the game, right? So the Preds 9-9. If they do not get it, if it happens in the first period, they're 6-7. If it happens in the second period, they actually have a winning record. So when the opposition gets the first goal in the second period here in Nashville, the Preds are 3-2. Well, that's not much of a data point, but it's a winning record. Gotta love those winning records when you see them, especially this year for this team. So how does that translate to the periods? Well, glad you asked. So at home, the Preds are 18-8-13. 18-8-13. So that's that's a winning record. 8-21. If you combine losses and ties, which is not exactly fair in that particular case, but almost, So at this point, I guess a little bit more weight towards losing or tying than winning, but still, 18 wins. The second period, 11-18-10. So again, there's that 18 number. So 21-18, 18 losses to 11 wins, 10 ties. So maybe a little more towards winning or tying than losing. And then the third period, 14-17-8. So pretty close there. Pretty close in that particular scheme of things. And then the important thing is, how does that translate to victory? So when the Preds win the first period, they are 11-7 in the game. That's pretty good. When they lose, 2-6, so that's not horrible. And they tie at 6-7. So tying any of these at home is a toss-up. On the road, boys, what we really need to talk about. We don't need to talk about on the road. But the second period, similarly, if they win the second period, the 11 times, they're 10-1. So that's a real strong indicator. If the Preds can win the second period, that they're going to win the game. If they lose the second period, they're 4-14, which is not exceptional. And then it's a split, 5-5 if they tie it. Third period again, if they win it, 13-1. 2-15 if they lose it, and then tying it, again, 4-4. Taking out empty net goals, the Preds have won the third period 10 times, taking out empty net goals, and they're 9-1 in those cases. If they lose the third period, 3-11 without empty nets, and then another coin flip, 7-8 if it's tied. Now, taking a look at how those things, the combinatorics of, because it looks great. If you win each of these periods, then you got a high propensity of winning the game. And yeah, if you win all three, you win three periods. It's impossible to lose in the NHL, winning three periods. Here in Nashville, if the Preds win the first two, that has happened 5 times, and they've won all 5 of those games. Again, mostly, like 99%, if you win 2 periods, you win the game. Lose 2 periods, you lose the game. Now, winning the first and losing the second has happened 9 times, and that's a little bit of a coin flip. They're 3, 4, and 2, so almost equally as likely to have any of those results. And then winning the first and tying the second, 3, 0, and 1. So winning the first and then not losing the second winds up being a pretty good scenario for the Preds. Winning the first and losing the second, I guess you could say that still have a chance. If they lose the first, things don't look so good. Losing the first, winning the second, they're 2-1, so that's happened 3 times. 3 times also, they've lost both periods, they're 0-3. And then losing the first, tying the second, they're 0-2. So all of that looks like a really bad deal. I guess losing the first, winning the second at least kind of pulls that up a little bit. Tying the first, winning the second, 3-0. So that looks good. Tie the first, lose the second, they're 1-5. Not so good. And then tying the first and tying the second, coin flip, 2-2. So tying the second period, as long as you didn't lose the first, then that looks fine. Losing the second looks bad. Doesn't matter whether you won the first or not. And then if you win the second, that looks pretty good in all those scenarios. As far as the winning goal, I guess we played all the road games, so all that is settled. And just for marker perspective, on the road, the winning goal being scored in the second period, 44%, 50% more than in the third. So that's definitely different than last year. But overall, it's a lot closer because in home, the current lead goes to the third period. 12 times the winning goal has been scored in the third period here in Nashville, 11 times in the second. So that's still a battle there to see who will be supreme, the second or third period. And overall for the Preds this season, 36% of the time, the winning goals scored in the second period, mainly biased there by the away record. So that's what that is. And then when the home team wins, 34% of the time, the winning goal is in the second period. Interesting stat from an overall standpoint, the last 2 games being here in Nashville, that's not going to carry as much weight because since it is here in Nashville, then looking at I guess it's the home team. That's kind of like, I guess that would be generally the Nashville's propensity for being able to win here in Nashville would be biased by that. The road team wins 40% of the time. They get the winning goal in the second period. That's 12-10. So definitely do not want to see those numbers tick up because both of these games are home games. Goal scoring, at least here in Nashville, the goal scoring is better. Is that a question? Sounded like a question. The Preds here in Nashville do have have outscored their opponents in the first period, 39-30. So by 9, they are being outscored in the second by 11, 34-45, and then being outscored in the third, 37-43. And if we take the empty nets out of that equation, it actually gets a little bit more, a little wider. It's eight points because the Preds have gotten 2 more empty net goals than their opponents have here in Nashville. So being outscored by 8 if you take out the empty net goals. Overall, here in Nashville, the winning team is getting 3.1 goals, while the opponents are getting 3.1 goals. I hope that's not foreshadowing. The Preds are getting 2.9, so roughly around 3 goals, and where that diverges is in the win. So when the Preds win, they score 4.3 to the opponent's 2.2, and when the opposition wins, they're scoring 4 to the Preds' 1.7. So that's where that diverges. It's interesting. The Preds, when they win, and they have won more. Well, I guess not. I guess that considers overtime wins too. And then I guess from that perspective, they're 19 and 20. But yeah, I mean, still equal number of games there. And so the fact that the Preds score more when they win than the opponents do when they win, I think that's really interesting. Even taking out the empty net goals, the Preds are 3.7 to the opposition 3.5. But when they lose, that's half a goal. Half a goal is significant over the course of a season. So that's definitely when the Preds lose. Yeah. When the Preds lose, they don't score. It gets funny how that correlates. Taking a look at special teams, the Preds here in Nashville look pretty good. In fact, just looking at my numbers here, and I'm just going to scroll down, the Preds overall, their power play is 21.7%. So they are 21.7% overall. And in all three periods, they are at least that here in Nashville. So 29% scoring goal on a power play here in Nashville. So 10 power play goals on 34 opportunities. In the second period, still 22%, which is higher than their overall average, which got to tell you something about how they perform on the road. But these aren't road games. The second period, they have also scored 10 power play goals, but on 12 additional opportunities, so 10 on 46. And then in the third period is the least number of opportunities they've had, 28, and they've scored 6 goals on 28. Giving up goals, they have scored seven more power play goals than their opponents here in Nashville, and none of the periods are the opponents even have double digits. So 3 on 30, 8 on 48, 7 on 31. So the 23% in the third period is the highest. The Preds have been really good this season, not allowing power play goals in the first period, and had not allowed one until about a month or so ago when I first started tracking that number. As soon as I started tracking it, then suddenly they scored. They hadn't given up one on the road or at home, and the next thing you know, they gave up one at home, and then they went on the road and gave up one on the road. And so you never likes that kind of stuff. At least I could have been reporting it for more than a game or two before they went and did that, but I think maybe I'd reported it 4 or 5 times. Anyway, so yes, the Preds do pretty well in the power play region here in Nashville. I expect if I looked, I did not do this, and now that I'm sitting here, I kind of wished I had just looked up the power play stats for the Preds when they are playing home games, because it looks like, I mean, maybe not, but it looks like their power play has to be one of the better ones in the NHL when they are playing home games, and so it does look really good, and so they're 10th. So that's so overall they're 17th in the league in the power play, but if you just look at how they are at home, they're 10th in the league. At 25.2%. So that's pretty outstanding. Chicago is one of the better special teams out there. They're second. I mean, I think in general, even on the road, Chicago is is right up there on the power play, and I think their penalty kill is really good too. It's wow. I mean, they've really got some problems, but Nashville is 10th. So I was right about how that worked out. And I guess since I'm doing this, I'm not to the point yet where I'm talking about those particular special teams, but looking at the power play, okay, so Utah's power play is 10th in the league, but on the road they are 3rd. On the road, Utah is third. Now, Utah did get 4 power play goals against Dallas, 4 in 4 opportunities against Dallas. They did have 2 opportunities against the Preds in the previous game and did not score, but they got 4 against Dallas. They did give up a shorthanded goal against Dallas as well. So a lot of things happened on the power play against Dallas, but they wound up they scored 5 goals and 4 of them were power play goals. So yeah, they're third in the league. I'm not sure how much that ticked up because of that particular game, but that was, I did note that they moved up from 15th overall to 10th. When I was putting together my notes for the last game, Nashville versus Utah, they were 15th in the league and now they're 10th. So they have kind of shot up the standings there because of how they're doing. And well, I mean, I guess that conclude the Nashville part of the special teams and just keep talking about the penalty kill. So overall, these teams are 2 of the better teams in the penalty kill and in the league. The Preds are 8th and Utah is 12th, 81.8% for Nashville, 80.2% for Utah. Utah has given up 48 goals on 242 opportunities to Nashville's 44 on 233. Utah's 242 times on the penalty kill is 4th in the league. Nashville is 10th. So you have to kind of like you have to kind of like where Nashville is at, 10th in the league and the number of opportunities, but 8th in killing the penalties. So that's the numbers are on the right side of that equation. You know me, I'm not I would prefer to see less penalties. I think the Preds, I'd like to see the Preds take less penalties. That's for sure. What the opponents do, I can't really control that. I do like the games where things are a lot cleaner, and that's just a lot more skating, less interruptions. But Utah has given up, Utah has scored 4 shorthanded goals and given up 8. Their 4 shorthanded goals that they've scored is 28th in the league. Now there are 8 teams with 4, so they go from 28th to 21st. So a lot of teams have 4. The Preds have 1 shorthanded goal this season, 32nd in the league. They're the only team with 1. I think there was 2 teams with 2 and 1 with 3. But yeah, so but anyway, the penalty kill is really good. 8th in the league. The power play, I've kind of touched on that a little bit. The Preds are 17th in the league. Utah now 10th, 3rd on the road, which I think is since this game is on the road, I think it's definitely something to pay attention to. The Preds did give them 2 opportunities the other night, and they didn't score on them. But we don't want to poke that bear. They have scored 55 goals on 228 opportunities to the Preds 48 on 221. So they've scored 7 more goals on 7 more opportunities. So that's pretty good. They have given up 8 shorthanded goals, which is 8th in the league. So they've given up quite a few as far as league average goes. And the Preds have given up 5, and that's 22nd. So they're in the bottom half of the league giving up shorthanded goals. Yeah, and as I was mentioned, Utah's power play has gone up to 10th from 15th, and they were 4 for 4 against Dallas. I got to wonder what the heck is going on in Dallas, but there you go. Utah has a pretty good power play, and it's really good when they are on the road. They are a team that has a better road record. It's very close, though. I mean, they're 18-15-6 and 19-15-5, home and away. So very even. But that is definitely one thing that is different between the road and home for Utah. Oh, talking about the goaltenders, we've talked a little bit already about the goaltenders for Utah. Connor Ingram was the starter. Karel Vejmelka has been in goal for the last 23 games. I thought maybe they would have Villalta. Matt Villalta is the backup. He was the backup in the game versus Dallas. Jackson Stauber was the backup, and then they sent him back down and then brought up Villalta. But they neither. Well, I guess Stauber was 2-1-1. The Utah does have a back-to-back tomorrow night. It just looks like Vejmelka is going to play. I mean, since it's the last 2 games of the season, what's the point? I mean, if he plays 24 straight games or 25 straight games or 23 straight games, the season's over. So, I hope he's getting a bonus for having played so many games. I don't think he, being the backup, I doubt he had that much of a Utah. I was hoping this would be quicker. That much of a hit on the salary cap projections. Looking at the roster breakdown for Utah, Vejmelka is making, this year he's making 2.7, but getting bumped up next year to 4.7. And I guess Ingram, no, he was a starter, but he was only making just under 1.9. Okay. So Vejmelka was being paid about $800,000 more than Vejmelka. Vejmelka is going up next year. Modified no trade clause. Anyway, that's what the goaltending looks like this year. Ingram was in goal for the first game. Vejmelka was in goal for the second game because the second game was just a couple games ago. And so Vejmelka is 0-1 or 0-1 because that was a shootout loss, and Ingram was 0-1. Last year, Ingram was in goal for all 3 games. As I said, they do play a back-to-back, but who cares because it's Vejmelka or nobody. Apparently. For the Preds, getting kind of an interesting scenario. There are 2 games left. They're both home games. UC Saros, 19-30-6 at this point in time, is alternating games with Justice Anunen, who's 9-11-1. Saros has been in goal for both games against Utah. And then last year, he was in goal for all 4 against Arizona. Anunen didn't face Arizona for Colorado last year. Colorado was 2-0-2 against Arizona last year. Anunen did play versus Vegas. And I just got to, so if they're alternating, then it would be Saros tonight and Anunen on Wednesday. And I just got to thinking that Saros probably would play in the last game of the season. So I think we see Anunen tonight and then Saros on Wednesday. I mean, they could keep switching, but just feels like with the last game being the last game, that Saros would want to be in goal. So maybe he plays both games, but being it's the last 2 home games, I think Anunen. It could go in any particular direction. So I'm confused. I've talked myself into some confusion. I'm not sure, but I guess I'll go with Anunen tonight. Players to watch for Utah. Number 9, Clayton Keller, center Clayton Keller. First across the boards, and we played them the other day. Gunther had taken over first, and Keller was second, but now they're tied at 27 goals each. Keller is first in assists, first in points, third worst plus minus at -12. Sixth in time on ice, so he is the forward which is on the ice the most, and he's first in shots with 211. Gunther is first in goals and second in shots. Otherwise, I didn't really notice that much. Center Nick Schmaltz, second in assists, third in points, first worst plus minus at minus 13. Maybe a little bit more noteworthy. So, 8 and 9 there. Had to this time include number 92 center Logan Cooley. No, his name just kept coming up. He's second in points. He's third in goals, third in assists. And so I had to look it up. And in the last 6 games, he's had 2 goals and 5 assists. So I think just the way he's playing here at the end of the season, I think he's somebody that you've got to watch. So number 92. And then I had called out number 56, Kyler Yamamoto, who had been at 22.2% shooting percentage, and he's kind of cooled down. He's had 4 shots without any goals, so that he was kind of streaking, especially in April. He was 1 of 5 on 4 goals, but I think he's kind of cooled off, which means he probably will score. So, but anyway, 8, 9, and 92, I think would be the 3 numbers to look out for. Yeah. For the Preds, number 9. Forsberg, first in goals, assists, points, third worst. Now he's down to third worst, plus minus. That's really kind of upped his game there. And first in shooting with 278. Stamkos is second in goals. Number 91 center Steven Stamkos. He's second in goals, third in shots. Last on the team in plus minus. Number 81 right wing Jonathan Marchessault back in the lineup, and he's second in points, second in assists, third in goals, second in shots, 202. So gets the puck a lot, shoots the puck a lot. And then number 90 center Ryan O'Reilly, fourth across the board. So if there's a 9 in the number, or the number's divisible by 9, then those are the guys to watch. As far as our Blakenberg watch, number 37 defenseman Nick Blakenberg was leading the team, not leading the team anymore in plus minus, but he's the only player with the club right now that actually has a positive plus minus. The 3 other people that have positive plus minuses are either out, like Wilsby, or playing for the AHL Milwaukee Admirals, Gravel and Weisblatt. So, but he's down to 2 now. He had been at 10. Now he's at 2. Be ashamed to see him go to 0. 2 games left. But definitely on the Nick Blakenberg watch. And the other thing I wanted to call out, April Stamkos, 4 goals, 3 assists in 6 games here in April on 11 shots. So he's kind of picked up his game here in April. Good to see. Momentum. Here we are at the end of the season. Utah is playing in a back-to-back tonight, tomorrow night. They play St. Louis tomorrow night. And they have a 2-game winning streak. No, they had a 2-game winning streak, and then they lost at a shootout to Nashville and then beat Dallas. So they're pretty, they're playing pretty well right now. They are 5-3-2 in the last 10. They're not a playoff team, so it's hard to assess. But taking a look at their records, when they are in these back-to-back situations, overall for on the road, they're 7-9. Vejmelka 5-6. In the last back-to-back, which happened at the end of March, Vejmelka played both games. The one before that, at the beginning of March, Vejmelka played in both games. Stauber did play in a couple of these earlier in the season after Ingram got injured. Then when Ingram came back, then it's Vejmelka or nobody once Ingram went out. And so they've had quite a few away and away in the back half. They're 3-5 this is the front half, so who cares what they do in the back half? And the front half on the road, they are 4-4. When they have both games are away, when both games are away, they do have, looks like they have a tendency to win the first one. So that's happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times that they have had. This is their 12th back-to-back, and both of these are away. So 7 of the 12 will be away. They did have 2 that was home, and then what is that, 2 that where they got to play home and away. Yeah, they had an away game where they had to cross the border as they played Seattle and then Edmonton the next night. So, yeah, in these circumstances where they're playing back-to-back and they are away in both of them, once they did win both of the games, but and once they won the back half, that was a shootout with Washington, lost to Carolina. So if they win a game, unfortunately, it looks like the propensity in these scenarios are for them to win the first one. But that's the exception and prove the rule, right? Vejmelka in the last one lost both games. Tampa Bay lost 8-0, and then played Florida the next night, overtime. Before that, they did beat Detroit and then went to overtime to lose to Chicago. Another interesting thing about their back-to-back is St. Louis will be the first time they played St. Louis in a back-to-back. So 12 back-to-back, and they will have played, was it 20? There's 22. They only play one team twice. Only play Edmonton twice, and everybody else is once. So the 24 games and 23 different teams, not that that's necessarily surprising, but the Preds, on contrast, had 14 back-to-backs, so 28 games, and 6 teams they played twice in those scenarios. So yeah, kind of interesting. I mean, it's a schedule. It's hard to say, whether it's good or bad. It's a schedule. I do feel like the Preds kind of got screwed by having so many back-to-backs and aways, and maybe it wouldn't have been so bad if they didn't have such a bad road record, but maybe they had a bad road record because they had so many away games with back-to-backs. And early in the season, too, interesting to note how many they had early in the season, and some teams didn't have any back-to-backs to like 20-some games in. And so by the time they had their first back-to-back, the Preds had already played 3. I think the ones early in the season are tougher because especially with the Preds trying to get their mojo together because of the teams that they had, that it just kind of becomes, something of a problem. But anyway, the back-to-back situation is Utah and not Nashville. So Utah, so that's Utah, 4-4 in the front half of when they're on the road. So that's, they've got some pretty decent momentum, and apparently they are not giving up because they still got Vejmelka in. They're not even giving the other guy a look. That's and on the road you've got to watch out because they have a pretty good power play. The Preds, they did lose their last game after winning 2 in a row, 3-7-0 in their last 10. The last 2 games at home, they're going to want to show up. They're going to want to play well, finish the season on a good note. And, so want to have end with a winning record. So the Preds, a little bit dangerous, especially Stamkos right now. And I think Dallas is going to have something they're going to have to watch out for, though. Dallas comes into Nashville if they're not, if they're thinking about the playoffs, which I'm not sure what's going on in Dallas, but they're going to be in trouble. But hopefully Utah is in trouble tonight. They can do whatever they want in St. Louis, but tonight, Utah going down. So anyway, that's our show. Thanks for listening. I'm Preston Proctor, and you've been listening to Predators Proclivity.